Jane Grey's ghost, who basically was a queen for only 9 days. Have you ever heard of that? The shortest reign in the time of history. And then you also have the ghost of Guy Fawkes. Are you staying in London for a couple of days? No? Whereabouts are you guys? All right. Well, you probably still have the celebrations of Bonfire Night there.
Yeah.
So Guy Fawkes was actually kept in the White Tower of the Tower of London after he was caught before the act of assassinating the king in his gunpowder plot. So his ghost is still haunting the tower because they had to take his life right before his final sentence because he was too scared of what was coming and how he would be tortured. But in few words, he basically felt that the underground has needed a house in the Parliament, the explosive, to assassinate the king and destroy the whole house of the Parliament. But he did not manage to because he was caught by the detective up on his case. Now, a very funny but very scary story about the tower or the Tower Bridge itself. In the news articles, heavy. And at the time was also, well, the stories saying that the whole system of driving signs need to be repaired. They were one end when you're entering and exiting, came and started from the bridge itself because it was so congested. The people were allowed to enter the city only from that side and exit the city only from this side. So we have that kind of setting the standard in a way. That's what they said. These are some of the investors' newspapers. That was the main functionality of this ship itself. Except from that, as we're slowly heading towards one of the biggest cathedrals in the city, you will start hearing the name Christopher Wren a few times from now on. Not sure if you're familiar with that, but he was the main mastermind behind quite a lot of buildings and quite a lot of monuments around London. So St. Paul's Cathedral is one of them, and it was one of those big dreams of every, let's say, architect or designer, or that they want to see their little baby come to fruition, right? So the project to finalize. But he didn't manage to live up until the very end of the completion of St. Paul's. And also, because of that, there was a little bit of an engraving right on top of his grave by his son, saying if you're looking for his monument, look around you when you're inside St. Paul's, because he's actually buried inside the cathedral. So there's quite a few people, quite very famous people in the time of history of this country that have been buried in the cathedral. Some of them would be Lord Nelson. You might have heard of Sebastian Nelson, fought against Napoleon. There is also Florence Nightingale, the lady with the lamp, known as the hero of the Crimean War. So that's a really jokey part of that building itself. And then as we go further through, we also have Australia House, which is the High Commission offices for Australia, but it also used to be used for filming some of the scenes of Harry Potter. It's known as the Gringotts Bank. Not sure how many of you might have seen it, but that's where it was filmed. And then as we're driving further through, you all keep looking to your left towards the front, you start seeing the Courts of Justice, all Courts of Justice. Now the quite interesting thing with this is, of course, you'll see it's a quite large building. If you were to count the length of the corridors inside, it makes up about 3 miles. So quite a bit of exercise if somebody's working there. I'm very sorry for the cleaning part of the stuff as well. But it's also the second tallest court in the land. Now if you look ahead of us, we are actually approaching a very popular dragon. Now when it comes to dragons around London, they actually mean something. They are the original entrance to the city of London. So as we pass it through, we're now in what was known as Londinium in the early days. We started from the Roman Hotel here. So one is about 1500s that they started building it through, and the other is right here. Then you have the Waldorf Hotel. Now the hotel next to us is basically associated with the Titanic. If you know about the ill-fated ship, that sound. So actually the interior designer of the ship itself and all the rooms in the Zakham. Now the bridge we are driving through is known as Waterloo Bridge, or otherwise also known as the Ladies' Bridge, because it was built by the ladies of London during the Second World War. While soldiers were fighting in the war, the women were building the bridge. and of course supporting with everything else that was needed in the city. Now, as we are halfway on the bridge, we are really good, located in a really good spot where we are dividing the two parts of what is London today. So you have the original city of London to the right, which is known from the Roman days as Londinium. We'll talk about that a little bit later on because we're going that way. And then you have the other city on the left-hand side, which is the city of Westminster, and it's about 1,000 years old. So half the age of the city of London, which is about 2,000 years old. Now, looking at the city of Westminster, there is probably quite a few things that you recognize. So we have Big Ben. Now, for those of you that might not know, Big Ben is actually hiding inside the clock. It's the bell, the second biggest bell in London. The first biggest one is in St. Paul's on the other side. Now, the tower itself was known as the Clock Tower, and then later on named as Elizabeth Tower, named after Elizabeth II. In between you have the House of the Parliament, of course, which is usually quite the day before all the big day celebrations come through. Now, looking a little bit more as to what's around us, as we're driving through, you'll see this really nice circular building next to us. This is famously known as one of the largest screens in the history of every cinema, really, in this country, and it's known as London IMAX. So it has a curved screen that has been standing here since 19... It's going to be maybe a lot of stories, so like history of London, how things have got to where they are. There's going to be a little bit of an explanation about what part of London is what. And then there's going to be a very small part of haunted stories, but not too much, so don't worry about that. So just because we're still in the spirit of Halloween, let's call it that way. So I have to show you a little bit outside of the city as well. London does have quite a few stories around it. Now, generally, looking at the Halloween as a celebration, it's mainly the evening before all the selling saints are celebrated.